Shrek the Third, the movie that a lot of people say tarnished the Shrek franchise for a lot of people. It was a cash grab for a sequel. Shrek 2 made a crap ton of money, and they thought that Shrek, well, let's make another one. But a lot of people who worked on the first two movies did not work on the third movie. And basically what you get is someone trying to imitate the success of Shrek 2 without understanding any of the elements. So we get an inferior product. Let's get into it. Our first main problem is the villain, Prince Charming, from, Shrek 2. Remember that movie? You're going to hear a lot of that in this movie. Remember Shrek 2? That's most of the movie. Prince Charming does not do very well as the main villain. He was a side villain to the fairy godmother in Shrek 2. He does not have the charisma. Ironically, he doesn't have the charisma or staying power or even any prowess to even be the main villain. He's like a side character. He was doing Far, Far Away Idol after the whole stuff in Shrek 2. He's that weak of a villainous character. And they're trying to prop him up, doesn't work, and his motivation is he wants to be king. Okay, that makes sense. He was supposed to be it in the second movie, but now he's like, I'm going to make everything ugly, or something like that. Even though he's supposed to be charming, but he's not. Also, for some reason, he's obsessed with doing stage shows. And in this universe now, people on Far Far Away like Shrek. So him trying to kill Shrek on stage makes no sense. Who would like that? A spoiler alert, Shrek sleeps naked.
You really need to get yourself a pair of jammies.
So Shrek's character in the third movie is very weak. Like, it's still the same character, but what his character has to do is sucks. He's like, he has to fill in duties for the king, because I guess the queen doesn't do anything in the Shrek universe. But he fails miserably, like killing a guy and destroying a boat by throwing a bottle at it. It somehow sets on fire if he throws it. I don't get it. How did it set on fire? How does that make any sense? Also, Shrek has to wear ridiculous outfits if he has to pretend to be the king or something like that. I don't get it. They never wear powder wigs anywhere in I guess other than that one woman or something like that, or the guy, the background character. Like, why do they have to wear powder wigs? It makes no sense. Also, this really weird mural in the background, like, who painted that? It's kind of weird that, I don't know how long Shrek's been in Far Far Away, but the fact that someone already painted a mural of him being like a god or something is really awkward. But, the guy's itching Shrek's ass, but everyone sees it! And then one of the lamest things I always hate in animated movies when they do this is like when a random chain of events occurs, it's just a bunch of pratfalls. It just feels lazy and stupid. Like, everything's going wrong at once. So Shrek doesn't want to have to do anything with being royalty or helping out the king. And it turns out his problems are getting worse as we get a terrible joke.
Somebody better be dying. I'm dying.
So the King Harold, who is now sick and dying in the third movie. Like I said, it's not really clear how much time passed between Shrek 2 and 3. Mostly because it's weird that they stayed the whole time. Like, did they ever go back to Shrek Swamp? I don't know, because they stayed in far away for a while. And it's unclear how long the king's been sick or not, and how, I don't know, I don't understand the time things. Like, they wanted it to take place in Far Far Away, because Shrek 2 took place in Far Far Away, and Shrek 2 did very well. Also, let's keep it here. Also, the scene of the king dying is considered one of the worst scenes in any of the Shrek movies, if not DreamWorks histories, because for some reason, a scene that wants to be sad has a bunch of bad jokes where the king pretends to die twice. And it is so bad and so unclear what the tone even is. So the king finally dies, but instead of taking a moment to reflect on a character who has very complicated history with the franchise, and compared to the characters, is very, and did some shady things, we get, jokes, like Yo Footlocker, and for some reason these frogs are singing Live and Let Die from a James Bond movie. It doesn't fit at all. So Prince Charming thinks it's a good idea to start his plan since the king is dead, and I guess the queen has no power because Shrek's supposed to take over or something like that. I mean, I guess down the line, Shrek will probably have to take over, but at the same time, the queen does jack shit in this universe? Well, that's kind of progressive. Anyway, so his plan is, let's get all these outcasts here at this bar to help me out, because they've been screwed over by the kingdom like me. Now, I'm going to explain why I have a really big problem with this. I don't think that these characters would help Prince Charming out. Why? Well, let's go back to the first Shrek movie. Who's the villain? Farquaad. He's the established figure. He's supposed to represent making the world perfect without fairy tale creatures. He outcasts a lot of fairy tale creatures, including characters like the Big Bad Wolf. Technically a fairy tale villain, if you don't know. Shrek is not a heroic character in the eyes of the generic public until this movie, basically. He was considered a villain and outcast, one of the biggest ones. Everyone was scared of him. That was the main plot point of Shrek 1. Shrek 2, people are still scared of Shrek. Prince Charming is considered a hero in comparison. And not really, but because he's actually kind of a shady character in reality, and Shrek's technically the real hero. But that's the whole point. This is a fairy tale world where fairy tale creatures are disregarded all the time. And now we're in the point where now because Shrek is kind of royalty now, that they are getting more credit. See, the fairy tale creatures that Shrek is friends with are now able to go to bars and crap like that, I guess. And be more in public, because the king's also revealed to be one too. But at the same time, these characters are being rejected because they have their generic fairy tale backgrounds. Now, this guy is Geppetto. Terrible design. The new characters have really bad generic looking designs. But it doesn't make any sense, because in this universe, Pinocchio got sold by his dad. It's like, does he really give a shit about that character? Pinocchio has a shit life in this Shrek universe. Also, this is Rumpelstiltskin, by the way. An awful design. His character does jack shit. So in the next movie, they basically retcon that character in existence. What I'm trying to say is that these characters don't have any reason to work with Prince Charming, who's one of his things is that he likes perfection, which would have been the same thing as his mom, who he's trying to help out with, basically. I mean, he's an embodiment of her character, so why would he want to team up with villains who are slimy and gross? Because he doesn't like being a dreadful ogre in Shrek 2, but now he wants to help out other fairy tale creatures who also got screwed over, but he's not. I guess he is, but at the same time, do you understand what I'm trying to say? It doesn't make any sense. These are the characters who would not be considered villains in the Shrek universe, because the Shrek villains are characters who represent the establishment. They are not the establishment. And their motivations are very shallow. They want to get back at people who are now friends with Shrek, I guess. Also, Puss in Boots was cheating on Kitty Softpaws. Screw you. So much like every scene in this movie, anything that's supposed to be an important plot point, it has to be drowned out with a ton of shitty comedy that doesn't work or make any sense. Like when Fiona tells Shrek that she's pregnant, it's told in the weirdest way possible by yelling over his ship, and a guy pulls his horn, and they make this joke that says, "You are royally fucked," or something like that. This is supposed to be a main plot point, but the baby aspect, which is all over the marketing of this movie, and it barely affects the movie at all, oddly enough. But of course, it gives us this dream sequence where we get to see Shrek's swamp for the first time in forever. It's kind of weird how iconic this swamp is, and they don't even use it in this movie. I would have started the movie out in the swamp, me personally, if I was making this movie, but what the fuck ever. And we get some of the worst jokes in the movie, where Shrek has a nightmare about ogre babies, and they are stinky and they throw up, and Shrek is naked at graduation. Why is he naked at graduation? Did Shrek go to school? I didn't think he did.
Ah! Oh! Donkey! Donkey! Wake up! Ah! Ah! Da!
So yeah, the nightmare makes you think that Shrek is scared of kids because they're gross and they're gonna make fun of him when he's naked on graduation stage. No, the real problem is he's scared he's gonna be a bad father. But did that come across at all in that shitty dream sequence? Did that come across when Donkey's head was a ogre baby? Did it? Well, it didn't come off that way to me. Also, one thing I gotta point out that really annoys me is how badly Donkey and Puss in Boots' character are in this movie. They basically are both idiots, basically. Now, Donkey was always kind of more of a naive character, while Puss in Boots was never an idiot. He was always shown as competent in the second movie. Of course, he has funny moments, but all their jokes is that both of them are idiots, and they're bad at helping out Shrek in every way possible. And I hate it so much. One of the only good things about this movie, though, is that at least the voice performances are still top-notch. Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, and Antonio Banderas still give their all, even through their terrible dialogue. It still feels like the characters, just the dialogue's written terribly. I forgot that, Shrek, it doesn't want to be king, because he likes to jump his responsibilities, I guess. That's one of his main characters in the movie. But, he's got to find the closest living relative to the next heir, which would be, this kid named Arthur, who, of course, goes to a high school. Oh, do you think they tell any good jokes here? They don't. There's a wee joke, and yeah, that's about it. I would go over more of the terrible jokes here, but they're so bland and shitty, and it wastes your time. You're like, was that a joke even being told there? I don't even know. Also, because Puss and Donkey are both retarded in this movie, they have to beat up Shrek to prove that he's wearing a costume multiple times.
Were real, could I do this? Ow! Or this? If it were real, that would have been agonizingly painful. Now watch this.
So Shrek gets his dream by winning the mascot costume. In order to celebrate Shrek's victory, they play All-Star on the band. That's like one of the only things I like about this movie, is that they reference All-Star from the first movie. Also, we're introduced to Arthur, who's a dork and nobody likes him. He's voiced by Justin Timberlake, who was technically in the second movie as a poster, but now he's a character, and his character is one of the worst Shrek characters. He's just a dweeb, annoying teen, and yeah, that's his character personality. His design sucks. Like I said, all the Shrek 3 designs look terrible and don't stand out at all, and they don't make a return. Including this character, who's supposed to be a big deal. This character is going to be the next king of far, far away. At the same time, he's a lame loser who has to be convinced the whole movie that he can be a king. And he's like, I guess I can be. That's his character. We're then introduced to Fiona's friends, who are all bitches. I cannot stand these characters. These are the princesses, who are all snotty and rude, and they basically represent the establishment that the Shrek films usually tear down, but now they're like, these are great characters for some reason. Also, they were side characters in the first movie, basically. Very minor characters. But now, I guess the dead broad got off the table and is now a main character, and she's a fucking bitch. I hate all these characters. They're not written cleverly. They don't do any funny jokes. You're just come up with snobs who think they're better than everyone else, which is kind of like, why are these characters here? I don't like them. I can't stand them. Go die in a hole. Or get back on the table. So yeah, the fairy tale villains, I guess, try to attack Far, Far Away. And they destroy and pillage and stuff like that. Now, keep in mind, like I said, I'm pretty sure what Fairy Godmother, who was kind of the main maestro of this, wanted to have, like, perfection. But now, they're just letting these characters destroy the whole town. Because, yeah, that makes sense. And they tell terrible jokes again.
Well, it isn't Peter Pan.
His name's not Peter!
Shut it, Wendy.
What is the joke there? What was the joke? Why, is Captain Hook a retard too? So, the dragon, if you remember, is barely seldom used in the first two movies, because if they did, the dragons go pee, but nope, just a little bit of chain defeats the dragon, because of course. So, I guess they try to intimidate the other fairy tale creatures, but for some reason this gives a Gingy a post-war flashback where he gets all crazy for some reason. I don't get it.
Lollipop.
But now Arthur doesn't want to be king anymore because Puss in Boots and Donkey are both idiots and decide to describe how hard it is to be a king by describing the things that would make no sense to describe, like, yeah, you're gonna get poisoned and shit like that.
What did I say?
The ship gets shipwrecked and they come across this character, the best character in Shrek history. It is Merlin the Wizard, everyone's favorite character. Just kidding, this is the worst character in all the Shrek movies. Fuck Merlin. He's an awful character voiced by Eric Idle, who I haven't seen a single thing he's funny in. I'm not joking. Everything I've seen him in sucks. He also sued the movie because they made a reference to one of the jokes in Mighty Python, I think. But what the fuck, dude? You're in fucking Shrek the Third. They did a reference to something, and now we're gonna sue him? Fuck you. Fuck your character, and fuck Merlin and his bald-ass head. So because Merlin is an awful character, instead of helping Shrek and the others try to get back to Far, Far Away, which is, like I said, far, far away. He's like, I'm gonna make you go on a mystical journey. If you don't, I'll scream! What a funny, delightful character. Nah. So yeah, Merlin makes them waste their time by waiting till night for them to look into a fire to look into themselves, and it plays shitty music.
Just thought I might help set the mood.
So Shrek has to explain his backstory to Arthur here, because he doesn't fucking know his backstory. But yeah, this is one of the only good scenes in the movie, but like I said, it was ruined beginning by Merlin's fucking stupid wailing siren and him yelling about setting the mood. But I'm not sure if you can guess, but Arthur here, who's like a teenage boy who's supposed to be king, is supposed to represent Shrek having a child. It doesn't correlate very well, and the fact that most of the movie is about Shrek and this kid is not entertaining or funny at all. Like I said, Arthur's not an interesting character in the slightest. So Shrek having to communicate with him because Donkey and Puss are useless. Shrek and Fiona have barely any scenes in the movie. You know, the main purpose of Shrek 1 and 2, the relationship, is not even a main factor of this movie. It's kind of annoying. In fact, Fiona gets giantly sidelined in this movie. But yeah, the princesses got kidnapped after trying to escape, because that's, you know, very creative. It sucks. Also, one of them is working with Prince Charming, I guess. It's as dumb as it sounds. Oh yeah, Captain Hook here is like, I'm gonna attack you guys, but they do a terrible job of doing so, which makes it very odd that these guys are able to take over so easily. They can barely take on Shrek here. I mean, I know Shrek is very ogre powerful, you know, he has some ogre strength, but these guys suck, and the scene is shit here. Look, Arthur kicked one guy out! That's how lame they are! So after fucking with them for a long time, Merlin's like, I'm finally gonna help you guys go home. But there's a twist. Puss in Boots and Donkey swap bodies. Why? Because it's funny, I guess. Now, I saw this movie as a kid quite a lot. I don't know why. I guess because it was part of the Shrek universe. But, even as a kid, I hated this aspect because, one, it doesn't do anything funny with them. Two, they have the same voices as their original character, even though that makes no sense. Like I said, they always do them body swap. Three, it makes their characters even lamer because it's like, now they have like some transformation going on because Shrek 2 did it, but there Shrek 2 at least had a lot of thematic reasoning and it had some story. That's a lot of storytelling potential. Here it adds nothing. They transform because they think it's funny. One, it's not funny. So there's no story potential here because Puss in Boots and Donkey don't have any characters in this movie other than being the generic sidekick, which is kind of annoying. So because every character in the movie is incompetent, of course Shrek gets captured. And because Shrek decides that he doesn't want Arthur to get killed, so he basically says, like, fuck you, kid. And it was kind of obvious that he's only doing this so that he can go free. But Arthur gets offended, like, oh, you hurt my feelings, I'm not really supposed to be king, fuck you, I hate ogres. And Prince Charming has a great line to end it all.
You really do have a way with children, Shrek.
So yeah, this movie is really shit. They also play a song, which I don't know the song, but everyone who went to this movie says the song does not fit because the lyrics are about something completely different. And I'm gonna go for it. Basically, every song in this movie that's played are then like the All-Star Band or the first song, which is written directly for the movie, is awful because they don't fit the theme at all. Like I said, they play Live and Let Die during a funeral, so yeah. And they get worse as the films go on. Not the film, but this film. You know what I mean. So all the characters in the jail give up because, as we mentioned, they're useless. Even Fiona, who was pretty capable in the first two movies, is now reduced to just being a generic damsel in distress, I guess. And like I said, Puss in Boots and Donkey are also worthless. I mean, I guess it makes sense because they're in different bodies, but, you know. Phil, I'm surprised. You didn't know that the Queen can use her forehead to break brick? Because that's something that this character is always established to doing, because she has fighting skill. Because, as we know, Fiona can fight, meaning that the Queen can fight, because, as we all know, fighting skills are inherited. Does that make any sense? No. Does having fight skills mean you break through brick walls? Apparently. Also, it was not established, it was pretty established in the first movie that Fiona learned to fight on her own. It wasn't even, like, learned from somebody. So why would she, I don't get it! I don't get it! Also, we get a really terrible scene where apparently this one guy brought his kid to work. He's the only guy who did this. And there's this reference to the fact that, yeah, he's a kid, and, oh, there's a cheesy line that references Shrek and his problem having being a father.
Who would have thought a monster like me deserves something as special as you?
Also, this scene kind of proves my point about the villains working for not Farquaad, why did I say Farquaad? Prince Charming, because this guy seems to be pretty happy with his life, I guess. He doesn't, all he ever did was do mail fraud, I guess. Does he really need to help Prince Charming, who, I guess once he gets more in power, wouldn't he just put these villains to the side? I don't get it. So now the princesses decide they're going to attack. But as the song changes from Immigrant Song to Barracuda, very drastically and not very well done. It's very bad. And yeah, I guess they attack. Also, Donkey's kids attack Donkey. And yeah, Donkey has dragon donkey babies. They're called Dronkies. It's as weird as it sounds, but hey, it was in Shrek 2, so we'll let it slide. Oh yeah, so Prince Charming celebrates becoming king by putting on a shitty stage show. I don't understand it one little tiny shiver of a bit. I can't even speak that so much, it makes no sense. So he sings badly and the crowd thinks he's shit. What do you expect was going to happen? Because the crowd likes Shrek and they don't like Prince Charming, and they all go vote against him, and he sings badly. But all the characters come back to fight Prince Charming, but he's like, I got my villains who are kind of weak and as shit, and like I said, they have no motivation. God, I hate how underpowered Puss in Boots and Donkey are in this movie. It pisses me the fuck off. Yeah, most of the knights are going to attack the gingerbread man. Like, really? Are these guys supposed to be threatening at all? Fiona's useless. I know she's pregnant in this movie, but at the same time, she's so useless in this movie. She fought off the fucking merry men by herself in the first fucking movie, you fucking assholes. All hope seems lost, but then Arthur comes back and gives an inspiring speech. It's like, the only one that's standing in your way is you.
The person standing in your way is you.
Me? Get him, lad!
So now, since he said a really bad speech, all the villains are like, yeah, I don't want to be bad anymore because I grow daffodils and I want to own a spa. Like, huh? Like, but you're doing stuff that wouldn't even make sense in that motivation. Like, Prince Charming wants to become king, so I guess he take over makes sense. But these characters don't want to do that. They want to grow daffodils or own a spa. And I guess when Shrek came in power, I don't see why they wouldn't be able to do that. I don't get it. I don't fucking get it. So this speech inspired everybody but Prince Charming, who tries to kill, I think, Shrek or Arthur here. It doesn't really matter. But unfortunately for us, Prince Charming kills Shrek.
You need to work on your aim.
So Prince Charming dies, and Arthur's like, yeah, maybe I can be king after all. So this little dweeb who gave one shitty speech, which apparently swayed over every villain, is like, I'm going to be king. And everyone likes it, I guess. I wonder how well he'll do as a king in the next movie. Oh wait, he's not referenced at all, despite the fact they go to Far, Far Away. Because this character is shit. So it ends with Shrek and Fiona back at the swamp with their new ogre babies. And yeah, that's how it ends. They have kids, Shrek's a good dad, and yeah, that's it. Of course, since they don't dwell on the fact that Shrek be a bad father, they don't give a shit about it. He just automatically is, without any strings attached. And yeah, that's the end of Shrek the Third. Oh my goodness. Shrek the Third was not a film that I enjoyed that much as a child, even though I wanted to like it a lot more. It's one of those movies you see a lot because you really wish it would be good. And this is one of those movies. This is actually the prime example of that movie. Shrek 1 was great. I liked that movie. Shrek 2 was one of my favorite movies as a kid, and it still is. I eventually ended up liking both of the first two movies more and more. Shrek the Third, I was hoping that maybe one day I'd like it, really like it, but the more times I saw it, the more less I liked it, and of course, the more online discourse there's about this movie. It makes sense. I first heard that this is one of those movies that wasn't good, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Sometimes you hear that, we see a movie as a kid, and you hear it's bad later on, like, was it bad? This is one of those movies, I was like, yep, it's bad. Even the name kind of pissed me off. Shrek the Third. I don't know, because it's referenced the royalty angle, but at the same time, like I said, Shrek doesn't really become a king, so what's the point? Shrek 3, it would have been a better title. In fact, I call it Shrek 3 a lot, because it's easier. I don't know what else to say. I'm not the first person to talk about how bad this one is in particular, so I don't have much to say other than this one. It's bad. The only thing that's not that terrible about it is the fact that the only thing that's really noteworthy is that Shrek has kids, which is an element that's bad, so yeah, other than that element, just the ending, you can take pretty much everything away from this. A lot of the elements and themes, unlike Shrek 2, which became staples, the things in Shrek the Third that happened other than the babies, which, like I said, it's not really a part of Shrek the Third, it's only at the very end they have kids. So other than that, the whole movie is basically pointless. Shrek 4 doesn't mention most of the things that happen, like Arthur's not in it, and that movie's much better for it. I don't see any of the elements from Shrek the Third that are other than the ogre babies, which are pretty much a natural thing that's going to happen anyway in the Shrek universe. Come back again, because most of the elements are just not funny or make no sense. I have a lot of problems with this movie, right down from the villains to the weak character motivations, not building up well on the first two movies. Pretty much sticking to the same location as the Shrek 2, which is kind of lame, because they don't do anything interesting with Far, Far Away at all. So it's like, we don't have any reason to be in this location. Instead of expanding greatly like Shrek 1, Shrek 2 did to Shrek 1, they introduced Far, Far Away, which is a great location, but we don't need to see it so much. Shrek the Third gives us one new location, basically, which is the school, which is not very interesting at all. We barely spend any time there, in the one little shack, and that's about it. Shrek the Third is not good. Unsurprisingly, Shrek the Third goes to the bottom of F tier, being the worst DreamWorks film. Even worse than Shark Tale, because, to be honest, I'd rather watch Shark Tale. At least Shark Tale gave me a laugh, ironically, once in a while. It's one of those movies where it's bad, but you can it's kind of almost in a room category, where it's kind of so bad it's good. But for how goofy it is, Shark the Third doesn't have that luxury, because its jokes just fall flat, or just awful. Merlin is awful. The themes, like, it gets funny how bad some of the elements are, but at the same time, a lot of the jokes are not like that. They fall flat and they just make you cringe, which is a word that, I only use selectively, and it's cringe, and that sucks. And especially being a sequel to the first two movies, like, it's not like it's a second one to a first movie, like, okay, I guess they couldn't make a sequel. No, the first two movies are excellent. They made an amazing sequel that's better than the first one. And in fact, DreamWorks actually has a reputation of making good sequels, as we'll see with the next sequel they do, which won't be next, but it's getting close. So yeah, Shrek the Third is going to be at the bottom for a while. I think there is some contenders for the bottom tier, but Shrek the Third is going to be there for a while. Prince Charming is going in C tier as a villain because, he's not very great. The character worked better in Shrek 2. Shrek the Third doesn't really work at all. Like I said, what we know in Shrek 2 doesn't correlate with what we do and see in Shrek the Third. He's not much like a Manning villain. He gets made fun of a lot. Like, Farquaad also had a lot of jokes about him being short, but he still had a lot of presence. Like, he had a lot of power. His character feels like he has no power. The fact his allies just go against him at the very end showcases how little of a threat Prince Charming actually really is. And it feels like all the characters are just downgraded by their power ability in Shrek the Third. So yeah, Prince Charming isn't that great of a villain. He's better than Shrek the 2, but we're ranking both films, we'll put him in C tier. Alright, that's it. For next time, we're going on a very weird ride as we get to look at the infamous B movie. See you then.